Okay, so this video is all about genetics and inheritance, including Mendelian genetics. And this is the genetics that you're going to need for your Biology 1 college class. Over here we have a picture of a karyotype. So a karyotype is a chart of the chromosomes of an individual species. So karyotype. This is a karyotype for a human, and you know it's for a human because there are 23 chromosomes. They're numbered down here, see 1, 2, 3, and it goes up to 22. And then these last two is chromosome number 23. That's the sex chromosome. That says whether or not you're going to be a boy or a girl. And as you can see, each of these chromosomes are in pairs. Here's one right here, and then this side right here. These are pairs of chromosomes. So if you take the number 23 times 2 for the pairs, then you get 46. So that's how humans have 46 total chromosomes. It's 23 pairs. Each of these pairs of chromosomes, one comes from your mom, and one comes from your dad. So here's number 2. So we have 1, and this would be from mom, and then this one over here would be from dad, and so on throughout this chart. So that is what a karyotype is, and we'll get into why these are striped in a minute. So humans have a pair of each chromosome. Out of 23 chromosomes, they have 2 of each, so that's 46. Of each pair, one is from mom, one is from dad, like I was showing you. And when two people have a child, they each give one of those pairs of chromosomes to their child. So say, like this would be, the B's would stand for eye color, for example. And so here's the mom, and she has brown eyes. And her pair of chromosomes, in her pair of chromosomes, one chromosome has the gene for brown eyes, and the other one in the pair of chromosomes has the gene for blue eyes. And then the dad's over here, say the dad has blue eyes, and he has, again, 2 chromosomes, a pair of chromosomes for eye color, and both are genes for blue eyes. So mom donates one of her genes for eye color, and dad donates one of his genes for eye color, and so they both go into the baby. And so now the baby's pair of chromosomes in this example are both lowercase b. They're both for blue eyes, and that's what gives the baby blue eyes. Now, so as you can see with the mom has one of her chromosomes in the pair is for brown eyes, and the other chromosome in the pair is for blue eyes. So the pairs of chromosomes are not identical. Not identical. They code for the same thing, though. So just like in this pair of chromosomes, these genes code for eye color. So each chromosome of the pair of chromosomes have the gene for eye color. But that pair is not identical because one of the chromosomes in the pair could stand for brown eyes, and one of the chromosomes in the pair could stand for blue eyes. Or, as in the case of the dad, both of his chromosomes in the pair stand for blue eyes. So it just all depends. So they're not, the pairs of chromosomes are not identical. They just stand for the same character, like eye color. But they can be different because one can be for brown eyes and one could be for blue eyes. And we will get to how your body picks which chromosome to follow. Like, is your body going to have brown eyes, or is your body going to have blue eyes if you have one of each. If you have a gene for brown eyes and a gene for blue eyes, well, how does your body know which one to make? So genes are the small segments on the chromosome, and they represent a specific trait for a specific character. And I think in your textbook, genes, the definition for genes is discrete heritable units. And discrete, in this case, just means that they're separate from each other. They don't overlap. They're completely individuals. And then alleles are the different variants of that gene. So the gene would be for eye color, and the allele would specify blue eyes or brown eyes. And the reason why these in the karyotype, the reason why these genes have little stripes in them, this is to show that each of these individual little teeny tiny stripes are different genes. So there's more than one gene on each chromosome. Like, say for instance, this chromosome could include genes for eye color, hair color, size of your head, size of your hands, skin color, etc. It can all be contained in one chromosome. But these little stripy things, these are the individual genes. So like, let's say for instance, this little stripe would stand for eye color, and this little stripe would stand for hair color. So each of these little stripy things are different genes, and each corresponding gene on each of the chromosomes in the pair would be called an allele. So an allele you would have an allele for blue eyes. You could have an allele for brown eyes. So an allele is a gene, but we use the word allele when we're talking about a specific the specific gene, what it specifically codes for on that individual chromosome in the pair. Now, heritable is just a word for able to be inherited. And inherited just means passed down through your parental genes. So your mom and your dad both chip in one of their chromosomes of each pair and give it to the baby. So the baby inherited those chromosomes from the baby's parents. Now, character is what we were talking about with genes. It's a heritable feature. So it's the general term. It's like eye color. It doesn't specify what color, it's just the gene for eye color. So if you're talking about eye color, you can say the character of the iris and the eyes. Now, trait is the word used to specify exactly what color the eyes are. So the trait would be blue eyes, brown eyes, etc. So as you can see over here in the picture, we have a blue eye here. So blue eye, or blue eye color, and the blue part of it would be the trait, and the fact that we're talking about just the eye color in general would be the character. And you put those together, the trait of the character, and you end up with the phenotype. Now, before we go into phenotype, I want to point out this other vocabulary word, which is expressed. Expressed just means your body turning on the right gene, and so that's what shows up in your physical appearance. So if an allele for blue eyes is expressed, that means your body has created blue eyes for yourself. So expressed means just what it shows up in your body, what you look like. And that goes along with the word phenotype, which phenotype is how you look. So a phenotype is how tall somebody is. A phenotype is what color eyes they have. A phenotype is what color hair they have. What actually shows up in your body, like what you actually look like, the final result of all of these genes interacting. Now the genotype, and don't get this confused with phenotype, the genotype is the actual alleles from both of the chromosomes in the pair. So if you have one of your chromosomes you got from your mom is for brown eyes, and one of your chromosomes that you got from your dad is from blue eyes, then your genotype would be the complete pair of a capital B and a lowercase b, a brown-eyed gene and a blue-eyed gene, or a brown-eyed allele and a blue-eyed allele. That together, you have to have two of them there because we have pairs of chromosomes. The pair of chromosomes together, that would be the genotype. And that is not necessarily what ends up on your body, because see, we have an allele for brown eyes, and we have an allele for blue eyes. So the genotype is a brown-eyed allele and a blue-eyed allele. But you don't walk around with one eye brown and one eye blue. You walk around with just brown eyes. So in this instant, the person who has this genotype ends up having brown eyes. And that would be the phenotype, what is actually shows up in their body. So the genotype is the specific gene combination, one from mom and one from dad, that an individual has in their own chromosomes for a specific character. And remember, character is like eye color. And the dominant gene, so in this case, the brown eyes, the capital B, dominant genes are always represented by capital letters. The dominant gene is the winner. So it wins out over the blue-eyed allele. So you end up silencing that blue-eyed allele, so only the brown eyes show through, and you end up having brown eyes as your phenotype. Also, the individual will only pass along one out of the two genes that they have for that character trait to their child, because one's going to come from them and the other of the pair is going to come from the other person they're having the child with. Now, homozygous or homozygous, people pronounce it differently. This has the prefix homo, which means the same. So homozygous is when both alleles in the pair of chromosomes are for the same phenotype. Both alleles could be about eye color, but if they're homozygous, then they would both be for blue eyes, or they would both be for brown eyes. So this is an example of a homozygous parent. Both of their chromosomes have alleles for brown eyes, capital B's. And here's the other parent, and both of his chromosomes have alleles for brown eyes. So these are homozygous parents. They're homozygous for eye color, for brown eyes. And they cross together, and crossing is just a fancy name for they mate and have a child. And so this is the P generation. P stands for parents. I'll write that here. And then they have a child, and that's the F1 generation. So the children are going to have both of their alleles that they inherited are both going to be brown for brown eyes. because those are the only options from their parents, because both of their parents have two chromosomes in the pair, and they're both for brown eyes. So the only thing the child can inherit are genes for brown eyes. So that's on both of their chromosomes. So the child is also homozygous for brown eyes. And then let's say they cross with another person who also has the exact same genotype as they do. They're homozygous for brown eyes, and they cross and have a child. So now this child, the grandbaby of the parents, is going to inherit brown eyes, because those are the only genes that they have to inherit, because both of their parents only have brown eyes as their alleles, as both of their alleles for eye color. And that's example 1. Now down here in example 2, we have the P generation, P for parent, and these parents are homozygous, but in this one, this parent is homozygous for the recessive gene for blue eyes. So both of their alleles for eye color stand for blue eyes. And the other parent over here, both of their alleles for eye color are for blue eyes. And so when they cross and have a child, the child is going to get blue eyes, because there's no capital B, there's no brown eyes around to dominate and to silence that blue eye allele. And so then the child with blue eyes, say the child crosses with another person who has the same genotype that they do, they're homozygous for blue eyes, and they cross and have a child. Now we're at the grandbabies of the parents, and this child is going to have blue eyes as well, because that's the only, those are the only alleles they have to inherit, are the alleles for blue eyes. And when you do something like this, when you have a parent who is homozygous for a trait, just like we see here, this parent is homozygous for blue eyes, or up here, this parent is homozygous for brown eyes. And when you have a parent that's homozygous for the gene, for the character, then that is called a true breeding parent. True breeding. Because if you notice, no matter how many times we skip down in generations, we went down to the grandbabies down here, they all end up with the exact same eye color as the original parent, because the parents are homozygous for the blue-eyed allele. Or up in example 1, the parents are homozygous for the brown-eyed allele, and their grandchildren end up with the exact same thing. So that's why they're called true breeding, because their genotype stays true throughout their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, etc. So you receive a set of genes from your mom and a set of genes from your dad. Pair the alleles together to get the genotype. Out of the various possibilities of alleles, there is one trait that is always the winner if it is present in the pair. And then there's one trait that is silenced unless it is the only one around, unless it doesn't have that dominant winner to silence it. So heterozygous is a term that means out of the pair of genes that you have, one from mom and one from dad, they're different. So heterozygous would mean one of your genes for eye color would be brown eyes, one of your genes for eye color would be blue eyes. So see, they're different. And that wouldn't be heterozygous. As opposed to the homozygous, if you have just a gene for blue eyes from mom and a gene from blue eyes from dad, those are both blue eyes. So that would be homozygous. So this winner that we're talking about, this winner gene that we put in the capital letters, this is called the dominant allele. So dominance. And that just means that that is going to override the other gene that they have for eye color. And so this dominant gene is going to be the one that gets expressed, or this is going to be the one that shows up in your body. So if you have one brown-eyed gene and one blue-eyed gene, then the brown-eyed gene is going to win and you're going to end up with brown eyes. So as you can see here, we have the parents has a brown-eyed gene and a blue-eyed gene. One of the parents does. The other parent has a brown-eyed gene and a blue-eyed gene. And so they have a child. That's what this times sign means. It's called crossing, and it just means they mate and have a child. And so the possibilities of their children could be they could have a child with 2 genes for brown eyes, which would be homozygous or homozygous, or they could have 2 genes for blue eyes, which would also be homozygous, or they could have a gene for brown eyes and a gene for blue eyes, which would be heterozygous because they're different. Now, this one that gets silenced, this lowercase b, this would be called the recessive gene because it recedes back into the woodwork. It recedes back, so your body does not show this gene. Your body only shows the dominant gene, the brown eyes. And this blue eyes is recessive, so we put it in a lowercase letter. So recessive, it will not show up in your phenotype if it's around the dominant gene, because the dominant gene silences the recessive gene. The only time the recessive gene does show up in your phenotype is if you're homozygous for the recessive gene. If both of your alleles are the same thing, are both recessive genes, because then there's no brown-eyed gene to silence them. There's no dominant gene to cancel the recessive gene out. So without a dominant gene there to dominate, or to be the winner, then these two together mean that the child is going to have blue eyes.